Hi, I'm Chris Goodman and I'm the author of ChrisDataBlog, and today I'm going to talk to you about Alteryx 20.2 and some of the new features that have been released. So new features released in 20.2, there's two main headline features. The first one is multi-threaded processing, and this is a change to the underlying engine of Alteryx. And then the second one is the intelligence suite, which brings in assisted modeling and text mining capabilities. A full list of the features are available in the release notes, so you can kind of skim through these and understand kind of more in depth what's new in Alteryx. So we're going to move it now into the AMP demo. So as part of this, just wanted to kind of like highlight the amount of work that's been done by Alteryx. So Adam Riley, who's one of the developers at Alteryx, posted on Twitter that he spent 4 years kind of creating the new multi-threaded engine. There's a lot of documentation on the website that covers what multi-threading is and what the benefits are, kind of what the key differences are with some of the tools and performance. So I'd recommend reading this. Don't assume that every single workflow is going to be a million times faster now that you've got multi-threading. So in testing, I've kind of found that some workflows don't necessarily see speed improvements, and sometimes they can actually be slower. But what I'll do now is just jump into Alteryx. So here in Alteryx, I've got preloaded a workflow. This is a workflow that I built as part of Advent of Code. Advent of Code, you might be familiar if you follow Alteryx people on Twitter. It's something that comes out in December, and it's essentially a coding exercise, but people in the Alteryx community wanted to see if they could solve these challenges purely using the standard tools in Alteryx, no Python, no R, and just the base Alteryx tools. So if we click on the canvas and click on runtime, we can see that the AMP engine here is turned off. And what we'll do is we'll click run and just see how long this workflow takes. So what we see here is that kind of took about 16 seconds, 16, 17 seconds to run through. So what we'll do now is just flick back, turn on the AMP engine by ticking this box. That's all you need to do. Hit run again. And we now see this is much faster. So this only ran in 1.7 seconds. So this is an example of a workflow that has sort of many-fold speed improvements. Like I said, kind of need to test it, understand the documentation, because not every single workflow will run faster. Next up is a demo of assisted modeling. Assisted modeling is a new feature that's been added into 20.2 as part of the intelligence suite. I first saw a demonstration of assisted modeling back at Inspire, I think in 2018, and kind of have been excited to see it and kind of tested it through the beta. So it's great to kind of see it now in the production version of Alteryx. Just a bit of background around the intelligence suite. So it covers the text mining and assisted modeling features. If you want to get a trial, you can understand you can get access to it. So if you go to alteryx.com /trial support, you can make a request to get access to the intelligence suite. Understand they're kind of giving trials out for sort of 1-2 months over the summer, but this has kind of all of the details around what's included in the intelligence suite. I'll just move now into Alteryx to kind of do a walkthrough of what assisted modeling is. So what I've got here, I've got the iris data set. So this is something that's available on things like Kaggle, which is a great resource for learning data science and having kind of data sets that you can learn on. So what we can see here is we've got some data around different types of irises, and essentially the idea is that you want to predict what species you've got there. So what we'll do now is we'll click on machine learning and bring in assisted modeling. And what you see up on the configuration pane is it asks you to run the workflow. Understand sort of assisted modeling is based on a lot of the Python tools, and when you bring the Python tool into Alteryx, you have to kind of run the workflow first to kind of set up the configuration. So hit run to set that configuration up. And once that's completed, you now on the configuration pane get this option to start assisted modeling. So there's two options, there's assisted and there's expert. Expert essentially allows you to use these new sort of coloured tools, the bluish sort of colour, to kind of build out your own model. But what we're going to demonstrate now is how Alteryx can assist you in building this. So the first thing that we see is essentially a pane that says get started with assisted modeling, and there's the different steps, and what's great about this is it gives you some details around what each step is asking you to do and why you're doing it. So there's 5 steps here and working through, and these are the 5 steps that we'll now walk through as we start to build the model. So the first step is selecting your target variable. So here species is our target variable, and it's already identified that you're wanting to do a classification model. So based on the data type, it's saying that you want to do a classification model. So you've got details there. The other option, which it's not allowing you to do, is a regression model, and that's because the data isn't numeric. So we want to do a classification model. So click next. And the second step then is around selecting the data types. So it's already identified that our sepal length, width, and petal length and width are all numeric fields. You do have the option to kind of change this, and you also get a profile. So we can see here that 100% of our records are numeric, so there's no kind of random string records in there. So we move on to next. Then this is about cleaning up missing values, but it's identified that we've got complete data, so there's no missing values, so we can move on to the next step. And now we can select the features. So it's already looked at association analysis and said, okay, something like the petal width is actually already highly associated with the target variable, so it's not recommending that you include that in the model, but it is recommending the 3 other features to include. We move on to next, and then it's recommending that we use a decision tree and a random forest and not XGBoost, and you can read more reasons on sort of the use cases and why you would use those types of models. So once we kind of tick those, and so we want to kind of run a scoring against a decision tree and a random forest, it now creates this leaderboard. So we can see that the random forest is the most accurate with a 93% compared to the decision tree. And you get more information kind of explaining what accuracy, log loss, etc. are. You can read all about this here. But what we want to do now is essentially create this model. So we're going to select random forest and click add models. So what this will now do is add the required tools to our Alteryx canvas. And we can see that we've now got this here. At the end now we have the predict values tool, and this is very similar to the score tool. So if you're familiar with the Alteryx tools for predicting from before, that's what you want to do. So what we'll do here is we'll just connect in, want to connect in our data, and essentially we want to now predict. If I was doing this properly, I'd obviously have data that I'd want to evaluate, validate, and hold out. But just for the purposes of demonstration, I'm just going to connect everything in. Then if we run this workflow, what we now get is some new fields at the end. So we've got one which is the predicted species, and then for each of the 3 different species in the data set, essentially the prediction score. So the predicted one is the one that ranks highest. So here it's picking up Setosa. And what we can do after this, I won't do it in the demonstration now, is kind of validate that and see how accurate the model was. So for the next part of the demonstration, I'm going to talk about the new text mining tools. Again, there's a lot of documentation. So there's documentation around kind of each of the new tools. And also for something like topic modeling, there's a lot of science behind it. There's a lot of blogs as well that are already on community. So actually here's a blog by Sydney that she wrote in 2018 talking about the LDA model, and that's the model that sits behind topic modeling that's inbuilt into Alteryx now. So you can kind of read through that. There's lots of academic papers on it as well. So recommend kind of doing thorough reading around topic modeling. So what we'll do is we'll just jump into Alteryx again. And what I've got here now is I've got a demo. I've got some data. So here's some tweets that I've scraped. So I picked up 2 different data sets just to kind of show you how it works. So this top data set is some tweets around football that I scraped, and then this bottom set is some tweets that I scraped in November last year on Alteryx. I kind of do some processing, kind of select the unique values, and only get the actual tweet and the date of the tweet because they're the bits of information I'm interested in. Then the first tool that is now on this new text mining palette is the text pre-processing tool. There's some configuration that's quite useful in here. So I see this tool being very similar in nature to the data cleansing tool that you may be familiar with. So you can select the language of what your tweets are about, that you're kind of doing, and then also select the field that you want to process. So here I'm selecting the field t-text. You get the option to normalize the text. So this is converting words back down to their underlying root. So an example, if we take the football data, it's probably like the word playing, played, and what that will do is strip that back down to the root word play, which helps it with the topic modeling. Then you've also got filters, so you can strip out the digits, punctuation, and stop words. And then you can also add your own stop words to this. That processes the data. And then we move on to the next new tool, which is the topic mining tool. Here there's some different configurations. So I've got 2 setups of the tool. So at the top you select the field that you want to has the text in it. Then you select how many topics you want to create, what your output options are. So the top tool, I've got the interactive chart, and then the next tool down, I've got the word relevancy summary. And then there's more configuration around the dictionary options and the LDA options. And that's where I'd read the academic papers and Sydney's blogs to kind of understand what settings you want to have in here. But for now, I've kind of left them as the defaults. So if we look at what the output is for the interactive chart, on this D anchor, you get the processed text. So this is stripping out the stop words and punctuation, etc. And then you get 2 new fields. So these are scores of how related that text, that tweet was to topic 1 and topic 2. And then you get an interactive chart. I'll just load up the full version of this so you can see it on the screen clearer. And what we have here now is we can highlight this topic here, so topic 1, and what you see on the left hand side is the words, and kind of highlighted in blue is kind of how frequent those words are associated to the cluster of words in topic 1. And then we can highlight over topic 2 and see that the words change. So kind of like reading down this list, you can see that topic 2 is probably things that are more related to Alteryx, and topic 1 are things that are more related to football. As you read through the academic papers, it's obviously you're using a unsupervised AI, so you're getting a machine to kind of read through hundreds of thousands of tweets and break them out into the defined number of topics, and there's a lot of science behind that, but then it kind of needs the human side to look at the words that are sort of most salient and work out what the topic is. It's not going to tell you this is a football topic, but you have to like look at the words and go, yeah, it looks like you're talking more about football there. And obviously it's open to interpretation. My interpretation of what those words are may be different to another user, but it's a very powerful tool to quickly scan through hundreds and hundreds of tweets or articles or blog posts or reviews and understand what the underlying topics are of them. Then if we look at the next output, so this is the word relevance one, the de-anchor gives you the same as the interactive chart does. So you get the processed text and then a score for each topic. And then if we look at the reporting anchor, what we see now is you get the saliency and relevance score for each of the words that is pulled out of those tweets. So I'm just going to move up to this de-anchor here, and essentially I've scored and picked out the most relevant topic, and then I'm just kind of splitting it just to kind of show you different features. So the next tool we've got here is the word cloud tool. So you can select the field that you want to generate the word cloud for, and then there's some additional options. So you can customize the word cloud. You can bring in a masking image. So if you wanted the word cloud to fit within the shape of a cloud, you can just upload a JPEG through a blob input tool and constrain the output to fit into a cloud shape. And then I've just rendered this out. If we look at this PDF document, what we have here now is what you'd expect to see for a word cloud. And so this is a way to help users kind of look at the topics and understand which words make up that topic. Then the next tool we're going to look at is the sentiment analysis tool. So there's only one algorithm in at the moment, and that's the radar tool. I imagine because it's been set up as a drop down, that Alteryx will add in other algorithms as they develop the product, and then you can set whether you want to find the sentiment at a sentence level or output the categorical sentiment. And then there's also configurations to set the boundaries for what you consider to be a neutral article. So I've done that. If we look at the output, so now you get kind of a sort of score for negative, neutral and positive sentiment, its compound sentiment score and its sentiment category. And you can take all of that and do a bit of processing, and then you can get this nice chart produced. So you can see over time kind of how sentiment has changed. So the next feature to show you is what I'm going to call PDF extraction. So there's another set of tools in this text mining palette. So kind of the previous demonstration talked through sentiment, topic modeling, and now we're going to look at PDF extraction. So there's three main tools for this. What we have at the top here is a tool that enables you to now bring in PDF documents. So this is a directory browse tool, and it will just pull through every single PDF document that is in that folder. So I can see here I've just got one PDF document that I've read in. The second tool here is called the image template tool, and what this enables you to do is on a preview of this PDF document that you've read in, you can set essentially areas in the document that you want to mask and bring through. So what I'll do here is I'll just select this field here. So you just click and drag, highlight that field. So what this is doing is setting up the position in the document that you want to extract. Then we move on to the third tool, which is called image to text, and what we've got in the D anchor is our PDF document, and what comes in from the T anchor is the bits that you want to mask, and you set the language that you want to do the OCR on. And then if you just run that workflow, what you get out is that extracted text. So this is a really powerful tool, enabling you to kind of set up a mask. So if you've got lots of documents that are in a consistent format, so I see this being things like invoices, where you can kind of select one part of the document and say this is the address field, this part of the document is the invoice number, and then details of the transactions. You can bulk read through lots of PDFs of those documents, and then create a nice structured file which you can then analyze in Alteryx. So I hope you found that as a helpful walkthrough of some of the new features in Alteryx 20.2. If you've got any questions, please reach out to me on Twitter at ChrisDataBlog, or contact me via my blog at ChrisDataBlog.com. Thank you very much.